So let me ask you something. If I told you there are kids, little kids, like 2 and 3 years old, who can describe in detail the exact life of a person who died before they were born. Names, addresses, hidden money, a plane being shot down over the Pacific. All of it verified. What would you do with that? Because these cases actually happened. So there's this little girl in Delhi, India, 1930s. Her name is Shanti Devi. And from the moment she could talk, she's telling her parents the same thing over and over. This isn't my real home. I have a husband. I have a son. They're in a city called Mathura. She's 4 years old saying this. Her parents think she's confused. Kids say weird things, right? But she doesn't stop. She starts describing the house, the street, what her husband looks like, fair skin, a wart on his left cheek, reading glasses, what he does for work, a cloth shop near a temple. She even says she died 10 days after giving birth, by surgery. She's 5. So her school principal, he decides to actually write a letter, sends it to the address she described in Mathura. He gets a reply. The man's name was Kedarnath. His wife, Lugdi Devi, had died in 1925, 9 days after giving birth to a son, by surgery. Every single detail matched. Kedarnath comes to Delhi to test her. He shows up with his cousin, pretending to be his own brother. He wants to see if she knows the difference. She does. She recognizes him the second he walks in, and she does the traditional gesture, touching his feet, the way a wife greets her husband. This gets so big that Mahatma Gandhi himself hears about it. He puts together a committee, 15 people, lawyers, politicians, journalists, and they all go with her to Mathura. At the train station, before anyone says a word to her, she walks up to a stranger in the crowd, touches his feet. She says he's her husband's elder brother. He was. She then leads their carriage through the streets from memory, points out what changed since her time, walks straight to the house, describes the inside layout perfectly, recognizes family members she's never met, calls them by name. And then she tells the committee about money. Hidden money under a flower pot inside the house. They dig it up. The pot is there. The money is gone. Kedarnath later admitted, privately, that he'd taken it after his wife died. She knew exactly where it had been. A Swedish writer traveled to India specifically to prove this was all fake. After his investigation, he said, and I'm quoting him directly, "This is the only fully proven case of reincarnation there has ever been." He became her official biographer. Now this next one, this one hits different because it happened in America, in a Christian family, with a dad who spent years trying to prove it was all nonsense. He couldn't. James Leininger, born 1998 in San Francisco. His dad, Bruce, was a regular guy, devout Christian, HR executive, not exactly someone looking for a ghost story. When James is 22 months old, Bruce takes him to a flight museum. James loses his mind over the World War II planes, has to be carried out. A few months later, just after his second birthday, the nightmares start. 5 times a week, sometimes more. He kicks his legs in the air like he's trapped, screaming. Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out. His parents ask him what the dreams are about. James tells them, the little man is him. His plane was shot by the Japanese. He's 2 years old. Over the next few months, he keeps adding details. His plane flew off a boat. The boat was called Natoma. He flew a Corsair, shot in the engine, crashed in the water, and he couldn't get out. He gives the name of a friend who flew with him, Jack Larson. He tells his parents he was James 3, the third James. Bruce, the dad, starts researching, not because he believes it, because he wants to shut it down. He can't shut it down. The USS Natoma Bay, real ship, Pacific Theater, Iwo Jima. A pilot named Jack Larson, real. He was on it. He survived the war. And only one pilot from the Natoma Bay was lost during Iwo Jima. James McCready Houston Jr., 21 years old, Pennsylvania. Killed March 3rd, 1945. Shot in the engine, caught fire, crashed into the ocean. 3 veterans who watched it happen confirmed every detail. But here's the part I can't get out of my head. Over 20 months, James names 3 G.I. Joe dolls: Billy, Walter, Leon. His parents ask why those names. He says, because that's who met me when I got to heaven. Bruce investigates. Billy Peeler, Walter Devlin, Leon Connor. 3 pilots from the same squadron, all 3 killed before Houston died. The dolls had brown hair, red hair, blonde hair. So did Billy, Walter, and Leon. The dolls were given on 3 different occasions over 20 months, not at once. His parents didn't even know all 3 names yet when he named the first one. When James was 8, his family took a boat to the Pacific, to the spot where Houston's plane went down. James threw flowers into the water. I salute you, and I'll never forget. He cried for 20 minutes. The nightmares never came back. This last one, this one is the strangest of the 3. Because this isn't about remembering someone who died a few decades ago. This is about 3,000 years ago. Dorothy Eady, born in London, 1904. When she's 3 years old, she falls down a flight of stairs at home. The doctor checks her and declares her dead. About an hour later, she's found playing in her room. No injuries, no explanation. After that, she starts having dreams. A huge building with tall columns, a garden full of fruit trees. She wakes up crying and tells her parents she wants to go home. They tell her she's already home. She doesn't believe them. When she's 4, her parents take her to the Egyptian section of the British Museum. She runs through the room kissing the feet of the statues. She says, "These are my people." At 7, she's flipping through a book and sees a photograph of a temple in Egypt. She points at it and says, "This is my home. This is where I used to live. But why is it broken? And where is the garden?" That temple was the temple of Seti I, built around 1290 BC. Over 3,000 years before she was born. Dorothy spent her whole life becoming one of the most respected Egyptologists of her generation. She worked for the Egyptian Department of Antiquities, collaborated with the top scholars of the field. And she was tested. Before she moved to Egypt, the Chief Inspector of Antiquities takes her into the Temple of Seti at night, completely dark, no light at all. He asks her to walk to specific wall paintings, locations that had never been published anywhere. She finds every single one. From childhood, she'd described a garden inside the temple, said that's where she first met the pharaoh. No such garden appeared on any map. Nobody believed her. After she moved to Abydos, they excavated ancient tree stumps right where she said. She also pointed to a spot under the temple floor and said there was a tunnel there. They dug. There was. And then there's the tomb. Someone asked her once if she knew where the undiscovered tomb of Nefertiti was. She said, "It's in the Valley of the Kings, very close to Tutankhamun's tomb, in a place where nobody would ever think to look." In 2015, an archaeologist published a paper claiming there's evidence that Nefertiti's burial chamber is hidden right next to Tutankhamun's tomb. He quoted Dorothy Eady at the top of his paper. She spent the last 25 years of her life in a mud brick house next to that temple in Abydos. No fame, no money, just the place she said she'd always been trying to get back to. She died there in 1981. She asked to be buried at the edge of the desert near the temple. They said no. 3 people, 3 completely different lives, 3 sets of details that had no business being known. Investigators who tried to prove them wrong walked away with more questions than answers. I'm not going to tell you what to think about this, but I'll tell you this much. Nobody has explained it. If you've ever walked into a place you've never been to before and felt like you already knew it, maybe you did. See you next time.